Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a flawlessly constructed music podcast with no hiccups and no problems and absolute professionalism. I'm Petey Rave. I've got a pink shirt, a pink and blue hat, and I did 2 lines of cocaine about 15 minutes ago, so I'm ready to go.
Sounds about right.
Okay, he's in Miami, everybody.
I was going to say, you're in the home of the yayo. We get it. We good.
With the cocaine. I'm in love with the cocoa. Here with me is my team. God, no, I'm not in love with the cocoa. I don't do cocaine.
God, I forgot about that song until just now, and I kind of hate you for it.
Yes. Yes. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew, my gang. The ones, the only. We've got David.
Brat, brat.
Of course, we've got Drew.
Thinking of that song also made me think of Facts by Stitches, which also makes me not happy.
Goddamn Stitches. What a character. And of course, still with us, we have the one, the only, one of the DKG fam, Blake, a.k.a. Panda Hacker. How you doing, Panda?
I sell the cocoa for the Lolo.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's all about that yayo.
We're here to that kind of podcast, everybody.
Yes.
Always a good time.
Well, we're getting restricted. I'm getting us restricted right away. Demonetized.
Explicit tag in Apple Podcasts.
Nah, it's good enough. We're for the kids. We're here to talk about music.
But first of all, Record Breakers is for the children.
Yes, exactly.
Go ahead, Petey.
We're here to talk about music. We're here to talk about albums, because we do the book club for music kind of thing, and that's what we do on a weekly basis. The provider of the album this week, the one bringing forth an offering, is David. David, what do you have for us this week?
Petey Rave Record Breakers fans, I have brought an album. I have brought an album from 2018. With my recent diving into the world of vaporwave, I've taken a liking to the subgenre offshoot known as future funk. And the album we're bringing is from an artist by the name of Lola Disco and their 2018 album, Time Machine.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely interested to see what everyone's expectations were. Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Well, having seen the cover, not what I was expecting out of a cover coming out of David, but he said it was on the retro wavy future funk side, so I was expecting some 80s tunage, some 80s inspired tunage coming from it, with a lot of, the best way I can describe my preconceptions whenever I go into anything with the retrowave moniker is something that came out of like a cybery sci-fi movie from the 80s, is what I was expecting out of this. Got a little bit of that, but maybe some little something else as we go along here.
Yeah, certainly that. Panda, what were your expectations coming into this?
So I'm a huge, I would say, like, synthwave fan, but more on the side of like outrun music. So you're thinking like Carpenter Brute and all of that stuff. And then I saw the cover and I'm like, I might be in for a ride with this one because I'm not sure anymore.
Yes. This is definitely an interesting ride. I wasn't sure what to expect. I had some thoughts. I knew it was going to be something retro and there was going to be some hashtag aesthetic. But I wasn't quite sure what to expect from Lola Disco, especially since they don't have a Wikipedia. So it's hard to. It's definitely a young independent artist, and kind of making it out there. But David, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes and elements?
I believe the themes and elements have been powdered around here and there so far. It has that A word that I'm gonna try not using because it's kind of overused with the whole genre. With vaporwave and going into future funk, with vaporwave there's often atmospheric elements and sampling, lots of sampling. Specifically with future funk, the sampling leans into the world of 80s funk and R&B and disco from that time period, as opposed to a lot of the synthwave and vaporwave being more in the lo-fi end or the 80s pop end. This really leans more towards R&B and funk. And just from the YouTube streams that are out there, I stumbled upon Lola Disco, and it just grabbed me. The contrast from a lot of the lo-fi and vaporwave that's already out there, the fact that this had a little more energy, a little more bounce to it, really caught my attention. And I absolutely love the visual packaging of Lola Disco in contrast to the music. It just creates a really interesting visual package, it contrasting the 80s mall pop video visual image with the R&B 80s R&B, pop R&B era with the sampling and electronic side. So just all of this for as off the wall appropriate as it all is and kind of comes together. It was just a really great package.
Mm-hmm. This looks like a sign. The album cover looks like a sign that like the proper people would run into in an abandoned mall from the 80s or something like that. Like
It says Benetton ad written all over it for me.
yeah, exactly. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, the thing about this is that yes, this does fit into, like, if you're getting into retro wave like ideas and music and that like sort of lo-fi scene, this definitely fits into it, but it is definitely mixing a lot of other things into it, which I think is good. The thing that I really liked about this, which you sometimes don't hear from the sort of the future funks and the wave based genres that are very much in vogue in electronic music right now, is an actual emphasis on using vocals as parts of melodies, which I think is really, really cool. There are artists that do it, but I feel like they're fewer and farther between than the ones who don't, which could be just because there's not a lot of singers in it, but not using even samples of that, right? The thing that's really cool about this one as well is that where some of the hypnagogic sort of genres fall into sometimes, like I said, was more of an 80s, almost like an 80s computer sci-fi sort of feel to them, right? That very much like you're going into Tron at moments in that. Where this very much feels more of like the mall side of things. This very much feels more of the this is like playing on the elements of being a time capsule. This is way less Kavinsky and like way more into something that would fit more in line with something in the 80s, which I think is cool, while still putting some of those newer elements into it and really thinking about that. And it was dance heavy as shit, and that is always, always welcome.
Mm-hmm. Panda, how would you describe the sound musically? Oh, quiet.
Panda, I think you're muted.
Sorry. Something that I listen to a lot of ambient music, and one of the things that I love in ambient music, and it's used a lot across all forms of music, is samples from TV stations or just like radio, and that is something that I absolutely love. And yeah, I agree with Drew that like it seems very much just take a slice of the 80s, put it in there, and then add some like really groovy bass lines and a punchy bass, and like you get something that surprised me into being very good.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool. It has like a really cool like danceable feeling. Like I think Drew was talking about, where it is that that vibe, that throwback vibe, that retrowave vibe, but with a little bit more up tempo, like has been said. It's more fun. It's more like more fun to put a little bit more fun to put in the car for maybe a with you and your friends, rather than putting in the car for just yourself. In a sense, like, you know, I think a lot of retrowave and synthwave you can enjoy in a lot of different settings by yourself, and with some friends. But this could be something that you just like jam in the car with like a group, and you all can like enjoy it in like playing music in the car. So I don't know. That's other than that, yeah, it has that vaporwave tinge, but still kind of being more like having more of a house and disco influence, with that vaporwave like coating and veneer, which is really cool. They're definitely committed to, and I'll say it, the aesthetic. Hashtag aesthetic.
Drink. Buddy drink.
But yeah, let's talk about some of the key tracks. Let's drill down. David, what would be some of the key tracks to zero in on?
I'm just going to go ahead and steal Drew's gimmick here and say, take me back to 1983. It opens up with a bang. And with this one, we're really off and running. And I feel like the album really doesn't slow down at all. The vocal sample on Holding Back really, really hooked me in. It was something that I couldn't quite recognize, but it was something that I felt like I knew. And that's something that in a lot of future funk that I really recognize. It's figuring out what that vocal sample is. And at the same time, it's not always about the direct reference. It's about the vibe and the mood that it invokes. And I really enjoyed Holding Back. Also, I Don't Mind has that movie sample at the beginning that just is a part of the mega genre. But the vocal sample that's on top of the beat and the hook in that song is just really good. Also, Top Model's Delight. That song I just wrote in my notes as, this song is just money. Period.
Yes.
Top Model's Delight.
Yes. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, to do the me thing, take me back to 1983. The bass line and the melody line on this, like, set such a perfect tone to the entire album that I think it's just absolutely fantastic. Masterclass and what I want a first like full song to do. Special Moment. If you were going to think that I was going to get through an album and not notice like emphasizing the offbeat in a song, then you obviously don't know my background in other forms of music that may do that sometimes. And Top Model's Delight. Top Model's Delight, I like was the first one where like the overarching effects on all of the instruments sort of made me sit up and take notice for the first time, and really, really enjoyed it. Like really, really enjoyed like what they were doing with that.
Mm-hmm. Panda, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
I know y'all talked about Take Me Back to 1983, setting the tone. But there's something I really love about intro tracks, and there's something that I felt that Time Machine really like gradually like brought you in, and then Take Me Back to 1983 was that 1-2 punch to like really set the tone for the entire album. Also, I really liked Tonight, the pop-up remix, but I don't think that really fit as well with the whole album, as it was a little bit extremely dance heavy and house heavy versus everything else. But Midnight Lover was also a great track to me. I really liked just like the groove of it and the synths that they were using, as well as the melody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's taking, like I said, the intro track is really good at introducing things, but yeah, taking me back to 1983. I appreciate it in how well it like establishes things. I also appreciate that it wants to take us all back to my birth year, which is nice. Yeah, taking me back to when I was born. And yeah, Top Model's Delight. It has such a cool like feel to it, and like with those 80s pop horns, like it's like the horns in it were so quintessentially 80s, like in a very specific way, and that just really caught my attention and were really fantastic. Yeah, there's just quite a few bangers all throughout. Also, side note, I just noticed off the side that Cupcake is coming to Miami, and I think on the 1st of October. And I think I want to go to that show. Yeah.
I get the impression Cupcake puts on a really fun show.
Mm-hmm. She seems fun. That being said, as a complete aside, let's bring it back around the horn. No, I don't look at TweetDeck in the middle of the podcast. What are you talking about? Let's bring it back around the horn to talk about some conclusive thoughts about this album. Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
My conclusion is that this is exactly the sort of thing that I think that if I can use the phrase again, the hypnagogic genres in general should be going towards. All of like the vapor wavy, retro wavy, like all of that lo-fi, like nostalgia driven, like music that sort of takes everything, turns it on its head, and takes a weird artistic look at that old consumerism from the past. This is, I think, a very good place to start, like taking it. You can only have so many Blank Banshee reduxes before it gets old. And I'm not saying I don't like Blank Banshee or there isn't a place for that anymore. I'm just saying,
it's not Blank Banshee, it's the reduxes.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. That it's the thing of, okay, we've done a thing, like we get it. Like, what's the next thing and how is it going to build? I love Kavinsky. I love Blank Banshee. Like, I love that sort of stuff. What's the next? Don't just give me that again. Put something new into it. And I think that this does that.
Mm-hmm. Panda, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
So, I'm going to anger a lot of people right now. I'm very young. I don't know anything about like the 80s or anything that happened there. So if you can just picture in your head for a moment where Miyazaki, that meme where he's like, anime is a mistake. For me, I'm like,
oh, believe
the 80s were a mistake.
Oh, they were.
But aside from that,
it's a mistake we're all learning from and we all grew from.
Very much enjoyed this album. It presented 80s style in a way that I could get into it more than I have with any other genre. So I liked it.
Yeah. I think it's, you know, like I said, I agree. The 80s were a mistake, but a mistake we were learning from. As someone who lived through the 80s, barely, but still. Yeah, I think this kind of presents a really fun aspect of the 80s in like 80s Americana and 80s like aesthetic, 80s style in a fantastic way. Especially fun to be done by a Brazilian, which is really cool. Because this is, at least according to the Bandcamp, they hail from Brazil. I still don't fale Portuguese, unfortunately, but I should at some point. I should learn it. I get a lot of Brazilians at work. It's crazy. But yeah, I think this album exemplifies that really working with that style and making something, just committing to a style and approach and a sound and a feel and kind of like the pop art of it all, and sticking through it and making something really tight and engaging and really cool. It's like a really cool mishmash hodgepodge of Technicolor throwback style, which is really cool. So yeah, go check it out. Listen to it. It's good. Just pop it in and make it part of your like synthwave like collection, because it fits right in a fun way that provides a good like variety. But yeah, finally, David, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I've only really dabbled in the complete genre space of vaporwave here and there, thanks to a few recommendations from some more knowledgeable people than myself. But Lola Disco and a few others that fall under future funk is the one that has really clicked for me. I've liked some. Like I said, I like Blank Banshee, but I think I might love Lola Disco, and I think I might love future funk, because it just has those influences and style that are just more in line with what I would probably enjoy anyway. In the same way that you'll hear some DJs that play EDM, I'm probably going to lean more towards the DJ that has more tracks that are hip hop and R&B. Future funk is that particular flavor that just hit me in the right spot in the entire vaporwave mega genre. And if you feel like you want something that is in that scope but has a little bit more of a danceable feel, something that has a little bit more groove to it, Lola Disco, and I think I might bring on another future funk album in the future. It might be Barb Walters. We'll see. But I feel like this is what I've been looking for from this entire genre from start to finish. The whole album, for me, was a album of all killer, no filler. Like every track from start to finish was enjoyable. I really would say that this is an album for any kind of time, any kind of vibe. You can drive, you can vacuum your carpet, you can spend some time with your significant other, you can do the laundry, you can read a book, you can sew your cosplay. I feel like this is one that just works on all levels, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's really fun stuff. Those are our thoughts on Lola Disco. Just imagine the star emoticon or the sun emoticon every time we say Lola Disco, just because it's right at the end of it.
Look, I'm even drinking Pepsi like it's the 80s.
You're the Pepsi generation. It's a whole new game you're facing. Let's begin. Hey, it's mud you're in. It's gonna be Pepsi now. Oh, what a time! It's gonna.
Yes.
Need some of that new Coke.
Yes.
This is not Stranger Things.
No. Those are our thoughts on Lola Disco's Time Machine. Now we get to the main event of the evening. We get to our haiku reviews, the moment we've all been waiting for
and are fully prepared for.
Yes, exactly. My analog version. I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and it's right.
Mine's
here.
in the cloud.
Yeah. Time for our haikus. Let's take it down to the nitty gritty. Haiku numero uno. Drew, what is your haiku?
A blast from a past that doesn't really exist, but is great for now.
Mm-hmm. I'll throw my haiku in right now. Retro disco wave, plenty of nostalgic fun. It shakes the booty. Panda, what is your haiku?
You're going to want to get your drink ready for this. Singing in the car, danceable and nostalgic, massive aesthetic.
Yes. Finally, David, what is your haiku?
The samples feel right. Lola Disco just might be my funky gateway.
Mm-hmm. So
Nice.
those are our thoughts on Lola Disco's Time Machine. You can, of course, find this on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. Do your due diligence and your due diligence.
And win fabulous prizes.
Yes. You can, of course, also recommend you as check them out on Bandcamp. If you like the album, go pick it up on Bandcamp. Pay $6 or more.
You might even get one of those cool cassettes that are coming back in style.
Yeah. So go ahead and go order it there. Check it out. Support artists. It's really cool. Yeah, go check it out. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, and it's provided by Drew. Drew, what do you have for us next week?
Well, this is a band that I wish would have lasted just a little bit longer. I understand why he moved on to other things, but I decided I'd bring something from my teenage years. Something Corporate's album North is what we're going to be listening to.
Yes. Something Corporate has one of my favorite songs ever, but I haven't listened to much of their discography. So
Constantine, right? Because it's the one that isn't on the other albums. And
yes,
they
exactly.
usually don't play it live shows because it's like 9 minutes long.
It's 9.5 minutes of pure unadulterated emo, and I love it.
Oh my god. Yeah.
But
he
we're not
wrote that
listening
for the album that would have came after this, and then dude got cancer.
So unfortunately.
Ooh.
Well, then Jack's Mannequin happened, but that's a whole different story.
That's a whole
we might get
other-
into next week.
Yes. So look forward to that next week. But that is next week, and this is this week. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Drew is at XDruciferX. Panda is at Panda_actual. I'm at PD Rave. The show's at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com is the email. If you want to email us, give us feedback, let us know what you think of the album. Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube. Leave us comments. You can find us everywhere you find podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts.
P-Rave works really hard on this podcast. Go ahead and give him the old 5 stars in Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
Why don't you?
Stitcher, a bunch of different places. Subscribe, like, share, give us feedback. Let us know what you think of the album. Where our commonalities and differences. Just engage with us where we don't bite. At least I don't. Well, sometimes.
Not without consent.
Exactly. But that's it. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo.
I can hire on my own supply.
Bye.
Bye.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.